here is every NFL team's worst free agency signing of all time. Shit happens, we all make mistakes. You may stub your toe, forget a close relative or friend's birthday. Maybe you accidentally cut someone off on traffic and they give you the bird. Or maybe you spend millions of dollars to bring in a star player that never pans out. See, not all mistakes are the same size, so we're also going to list the NFL franchise's biggest free agency mishaps from bad to worst. At the end of the video, I will reveal the worst NFL free agency signing ever. But first, hi, nice to meet you. I'm NFLMike, an NFL content creator and NFL historian, and I follow football all day, every day. 24 hours, 7 days a week, and twice on Sundays. So if you're an NFL fan, I know you will love the channel. Please, before you forget, subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure you like the video so that the algorithm knows to send this video out to more NFL fans like me and you. We're trying to get 10,000 subs, and every sub counts, even if you disagree with my opinions. All right, starting with the AFC. The least terrible signing in the AFC. Least terrible signing? What does that even mean? It's going to be the New England Patriots signing Antonio Brown. This is a terrible move, but the reason I'm bringing it up first is because really no harm was done to the New England Patriots. Except they ended up paying Antonio Brown $9 million guaranteed to catch 4 passes while on the team. They'd release Antonio Brown, and of course he would go to Tampa and win a Super Bowl, so it worked out for everybody. Next is going to be when the Tennessee Titans went out and signed running back Dion Lewis in 2019. At the time, this made a lot of sense because the Titans already had Derrick Henry, and Lewis was looked at as one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. Lewis signed a 4-year, $20 million contract with the team, ended up only playing 2 years and hardly really ever saw the field. He would leave Tennessee, and just a few years later, the Titans would find Tajay Spears, so be happy, Tennessee fans. The Pittsburgh Steelers' move on tight end Eric Ebron made the list, but not too far down on the rankings, because they signed Ebron to a small 2-year, $12 million deal. And just like Dion Lewis, this free agency signing actually led the Steelers in the direction that they needed to go anyways, because in 2021, Ebron will be beat out for the starting job as the starting tight end of the Pittsburgh Steelers by Pat Freiermuth. Bringing me to Antonio Cromartie signing to become an Indianapolis Colt. This one's another one that didn't really have a huge impact on franchise history. That's kind of the scale I use to rank these. If you guys use a different scale, feel free to comment how you feel that these should have been ranked. We all agree that these were terrible free agent moves regardless of where they're ranked. Cromartie started with the Chargers, where he was immediately an all-pro level cornerback, landing him a huge deal with the Jets. After his Jets contract, he would sign a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts and only play 4 games before being released mid-season. And that ended Antonio Cromartie's career. Cromartie, to this day, claims that the Colts cut him because he kneeled for the national anthem. Jim Irsay, if you're watching this video, let us know in the comments. Did you? Say it with your chest, buddy, if you did. Next is the Buffalo Bills' worst signing in free agency history. And I'm actually going with Von Miller for this pick just because of how massive his contract is and how he hasn't done a damn thing on the team yet. Von Miller signed a 6-year, $120 million contract to become a Buffalo Bill a few years ago. And due to a knee injury, he's only played 24 games as a Bill. He has 8 total sacks. I believe only 1 since his first season on the team when he originally got hurt. Buffalo can still salvage this if Von Miller gets healthier and is a beast again next year. But as of right now, this is their worst free agent signing in their franchise's history. Bringing me to the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. It was pretty hard to find a player to reference for the Chiefs because they tend to sign good free agents. But I'm going with another active player. Their current left tackle, Jawan Taylor. He has some big shoes to fill when OBJ went to Cincinnati. No one expected him to be elite, but the Chiefs signed him to a 4-year, $80 million contract instead of paying for OBJ. He was the most penalized player in the entire NFL last year, and I think he's the only weakness in the entire Chiefs roster. Unless there's a great turnaround when teams attack him now next season, this may go down as the worst signing in Chiefs history. From a team that usually lands all of their free agent signings, to a team that never does. Cleveland Browns' worst signing of all time is Jeff Garcia, just because of the hope it brought to the team. Garcia was successful as a San Francisco 49er. Not as successful as predecessors Steve Young and Joe Montana, but looked like a franchise Pro Bowl quarterback. But when he went to Cleveland, he fell off a fucking cliff, as it seems everyone does. The Browns thought they were getting a franchise quarterback when he inked his 4-year contract. He would be benched by the 10th game after going 3-7 and only last 1 season on the roster. The Miami Dolphins' worst free agency signing happened recently as well, when they signed cornerback Byron Jones. Now, Byron Jones wasn't terrible. Just when the Dolphins signed him, he was one of the best cornerbacks on the market. So he got a massive 5-year, $82.5 million contract. When you pay someone that much, you expect to be getting a shutdown corner, and that's what the Dolphins thought they were getting with Byron Jones. Like I said, Jones wasn't bad as a Dolphin. He got paid more than the highest paid corner at the time, which was Xavier Howard, also on the Dolphins. I'm going tackle for the Denver Broncos, worst free agency signing ever also. Just like KC, they brought in Ja'Wuan James to solidify their pass protection and give Drew Lock a real chance in the NFL because he had been playing behind one of the worst lines in football. But despite signing James to a 4-year, $52 million contract, he'd only play 3 games as a Bronco. He got injured his first year with the team, then in 2020 opted out because of the COVID pandemic. I'm not judging him for opting out. I don't know what his health concerns were at the time, or maybe family members. But by the time we got to 2021, James was 3 years into his deal, and he'd hardly hit the field. 2021 was going to be the year that the signing finally pays off. Until James ruptured his Achilles in practice. Once he healed up, he left Denver and went to the Baltimore Ravens. Tore his Achilles again, ending his career. Next, let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders' worst free agency signing ever. Cornerback D'Angelo Hall. You see, the last Raiders' really good first-round draft pick, Nnamdi Asomugha, became an all-pro corner almost immediately when he got to the league. So the Raiders said, you know what's probably going to make this defense shut down? Is if we had another elite corner. D'Angelo Hall was having a contract dispute with his original team, the Atlanta Falcons. So the Raiders said, send him our way. This is the only free agency signing that includes draft picks. They traded for D'Angelo Hall and signed him to a 7-year, $70 million contract. By week 8, the Raiders had to eat that contract and release D'Angelo Hall because of schematic issues. I bet the coaches didn't like him very much. This was like the J.C. Jackson signing of the 2000s. The Cincinnati Bengals go below the Raiders for worst free agency move in NFL history because they did the same move in 2 consecutive seasons. In 2009, the Cincinnati Bengals signed free agent wide receiver Leveon Bell. I tried my best to say it. You got to give me credit for that. He was a solid receiver, but for some reason, the Bengals gave him a 4-year, $30 million contract, which at the time was bonkers. A similar sized contract to what we see DK Metcalf playing on right now if you put it to scale in today's cap space. And obviously, Coles was awful. I don't even know how to say the guy's name. But then in 2010, the Bengals were like, that didn't work. Let's try it again. And went and signed wide receiver Antonio Bryant to another 4-year, $30+ million deal. But apparently when Bryant got to practice, he completely fell apart and lost his mind and would be released before week 1 of his first season on the team. The Baltimore Ravens are another team that rarely makes any mistakes. They land free agent after free agent, draft pick after draft pick. But when John Harbaugh called up Pete Carroll and said, hey, should I sign Earl Thomas? And Pete Carroll told John Harbaugh, no, do not sign Earl Thomas. He might end up flipping you off on the way off the field. John probably should have listened to him. They signed safety Earl Thomas to a 4-year, $55 million contract? Couldn't even believe what I was reading. And he only lasted 1 season in Baltimore because he decided to punch out a teammate in the locker room and never returned to the NFL again from there. An elite safety in the prime of his career out of the NFL like that. And next, you're probably surprised they're going to call me biased because this is not the worst free agency signing in NFL history. Is my Los Angeles Chargers with their recent J.C. Jackson acquisition. 4-year, $82 million contract to join the Brandon Staley defense and was looked at as the missing piece of the defense. A shutdown corner is what they needed more than anything at the time. JC would miss the first 4 games with an ankle injury he suffered in training camp. Finally get on the field and get absolutely cooked for 5 straight weeks. Rupture his patellar tendon in half. If you're wondering what the patellar tendon is, you never hear about it because it's really hard to rupture. It's the tendon that holds your whole knee together. It's way harder to injure than your ACL, MCL, or PCL. JC rehabbed anyways, got back to the Chargers, and was graded the worst corner of all time according to PFF in his games with the Chargers in 2023. So they sent him back to the Patriots for nothing, said please take him back. We're getting closer to the end. We're not there yet because the Houston Texans made a worse signing than that. Because in 2016, despite Brock Osweiler only had playing 7 games with Denver the year before, I guess the Texans thought they'd seen enough. Desperate for a quarterback, they signed him to a 4-year, $72 million contract. I think we all know how this story ends. They should have done better scouting. But the Jaguars got even worse than that when they signed Nick Foles in 2019. You're probably thinking, Mike, Nick Foles is a damn hero. How could anyone ever dislike Nick Foles? Or dislike a Nick Foles signing? I think you should ask Jacksonville Jaguars fans if Nick Foles is their hero. Because following his Super Bowl magic, the Jaguars signed him to a $92 million deal with $50 million guaranteed. Foles broke his collarbone in year 2 and then got beat out for the starting job by Gardner Minshew the next season. So he only ended up playing 4 games as a Jaguar total. And the Jags are still looking for that Philly special magic to this day, ironically. We reached the end of the AFC. I'm about to give you the worst free agency signing in AFC history. But first, one last reminder, make sure you've liked the video already and subscribe to the channel with that notification bell on. I know 95% of people are not subscribed to the channel, so I'm starting to plug it a ton. Please subscribe. The worst free agency signing in the history of the AFC is when the New York Jets signed Leveon Bell for multiple reasons. For one, at the time, running backs were not getting $50 million contracts. So Leveon Bell holding out of Pittsburgh and forcing his way to New York to get this record-breaking deal literally broke the running back market and scared NFL franchises forever to never sign a running back again. Not to mention, it ruined the trio in Pittsburgh that was dominating the league back then. This is one of the best offenses to not win a championship ever. Ruined his own damn potentially Hall of Fame career. And on top of it all, the reason he's number 1 on the list for the worst free agency signing in AFC history, he ruined a Jets team that was on the come up at the time. Should've stayed in Pittsburgh, Leveon. That's coming from a huge Leveon Bell boxing fan now. I'm dropping the NFC version of this video when this one hits 30 likes. Oh, I just broke my nail. Will any of the free agency signings this year top these terrible free agency signings? I guess sooner rather than later. The ball won't lie. Thank you for tuning in to another NFL Mike Bang. Let's keep this train rolling. Check out one of my next videos. Head to the NFL Mike channel, binge watch some shorts, or just go and do whatever you want to do next. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.